Hey everybody, welcome back to the Sheepdog Project. Gonna give you some dates of what we got coming up here in the near future. We're gonna be in Great Meadows, New Jersey, November 17th through 19th. That is a Sheepdog close quarter battle course. So everything you want to know about all the cool stuff you see in movies, how to go in and clear rooms and neutralize the threat. You're pulling up to your lake house late at night and you think you see a light on in the back corner somewhere. You got to go in there and clear it. This is we're going to teach you everything you need to know to do that, to do it properly, so you won't get killed like literally everybody in the movies would do, because they do everything wrong every time you see it on the silver screen. So you don't want to do it that way. You want to do it the right way. So catch up with our guys November 17th through 19th in Great Meadows, New Jersey. Learn how to do it properly. Coming up, first part of 2019, January 14th through 20th, Las Vegas, Nevada, Women's Self-Defense course, Sheepdog Level 1 course. Actually, there's going to be 2 Sheepdog Level 1 courses. One filled up, so we had to add a second one. An Occupational Level 1 course for the law enforcement, an Occupational Carbine course for anybody who has to carry a long gun as part of their assigned duties, and a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu seminar. That's January 14th through 20th in Las Vegas, Nevada. Go to the website and find it. Then finally in Ashburn, Virginia, Valentine's Week, February 14th through the 17th. There's going to be a Sheepdog Level 1 course, a Women's Self-Defense course, and a Carbine Level 1 course. Go to sheepdogresponse.com to check out all of these course dates and to check out the Sheepdog store for all of your sheepdog needs. With me in the studio today, once again, my good friend, Shane Steiner. How you doing, brother?
Good. Good to be here.
So
first of all, before you start,
yeah,
I really like the new look that you've got going on here.
it's a temporary look. Yeah,
Oh, come on.
No,
You look great.
No, I'm going right back to the beard.
So would you like to? You were telling me the story earlier.
So here again, I'll scrape it on the microphone. Oh, this microphone.
You look
cover
like
is so good.
You look
they
like a
can't hear it.
teenage boy right now.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Apparently, you had a Pedro moment.
Today's not the day I want to be going to prison. So, so what happened was, it was Tuesday night. So it was the night that that Mayans is on. So neither Denise nor I felt like cooking. So went to go get Chick-fil-A. And I don't know what it was, man. I think it was a combination of the heat, the humidity, everything else. It was a real muggy week this week.
It was hot.
Yeah, it was hot. So I'm driving home, and I'm like rubbing my beard and my mustache, and I was like, and it was funny because just a few days before that, like the week before, I had made the comment. I said, I'm going full homeless dude. Like I'm not gonna trim. As the mustache comes over the upper lip, I'm not going to trim it. I'm not going to shave my neck. I'm just going to let everything go full Lord of the Rings and just see how far out I can tolerate it. Well, I know exactly how far I can tolerate it now, because it's like all of a sudden it's like my face was suffocating. I felt like I had the face hugger from Aliens on my face, and I just couldn't. I was like, God, this is so uncomfortable. And then I get home, and I'm eating my Chick-fil-A sandwich with the Chick-fil-A sauce on it, which I love.
And most of it was probably getting in your
most
beard.
of it is in my beard, which I'm getting stink eye from the wife, because she's like, you need to clean that up. So I go into our bathroom to clean my face up, and I looked, and I'm like, screw this. And I reached down, I got the electric clippers out, and I just shorn the whole thing off like it was a sheep or a goat.
Well, it looks good.
And I had one razor left, and I didn't bother to look to see if I had a razor before I took the clippers out. So I would have looked like a dog with mange. But luckily I had one razor left, and I shaved it completely. So
Well, when you pulled up on your Harley today, I was like, who's this guy? It took me a few. I was like,
yeah,
is this Mike?
It's been a minute since you've seen me without a beard. So yeah, and of course now, as soon as I shave it off, now I got this huge zit coming up on my chin right here.
Well, it looks good.
Yeah. Well, I'm probably going right back to it, and plus I've got a couple of things. I've got 3 projects that I'm working on for potential TV projects right now, and 2 of which I would need a beard for. So, because one I already did a sizzle for, and I had a beard in the sizzle. So
well,
that's
didn't the last thing they made you shave your beard?
Yes.
And so now you have another 2 that want you to grow one.
Well, so they made me shave for the last season of Hunting Hitler, and the reason being is if at some point in editing if at some point in the show you make a reference to something that happened to season 2 and they got to do a flashback, they want you to look the same. They don't want it's why was Mike talking about that? And they're flashing back to some other dude.
Yeah,
you know,
bearded guy saying
bearded guy says this, and they flashed back to teenager guy. So they said, oh yeah, for continuity, we'd like for you to shave your beard. Even though actually in the finale of season 2, I had the beginnings of a beard. I had a kind of a mangy looking beard. But no, I did a sizzle for one thing that I've got in the works now that I had a beard when I did the sizzle. So if I get called for a meeting with that, they're going to expect me to look the same as I did in that.
just get a fake beard and then,
Yeah, well then there's two. I have 2 fiction projects that I'm working on. One, I can't have a beard because I'm supposed to be active duty military. But if I get called up for that, then I can just shave it. The other one I'll tell you about later is something that I just started working on. I would technically, I would have to have a beard for. So, but I don't care. You know what? This time of year, that's one thing I have learned about television is nobody calls you to go forward on a project this time of year. Right now, everybody, it's like 2019 is like this weird wall that they're looking at that it's like Stargate, when they're looking through the Stargate, it's like this weird, like shimmering, looks like a wall of water. That's what 2019 is to television people. It's like they don't quite know what's on the other side of it, so they don't want to commit to anything yet. like they can't start any projects right now. So they won't, with the holidays coming up and everything else, they won't start anything. There's stuff that's in production will get made, and then they'll start trying to figure out what they want to do for 2019. So we'll see. It's all the same to me. So.
Well, what are we here to talk about?
I wanted to talk about motivation, man, because I'll tell you, I've been having a problem with motivation, with motivating myself recently. And I typically know how I have to get around that, but I know that it's a problem that is not unique to me. But it's been like Jocko says, all my excuses are bullshit. But my gym closed down. They're waiting. The new location is not going to open until November. So until mid-November. So I've been finding excuses to just be a lazy ass, basically, and not. I just started back again. I am getting on the stationary bike, and I did 30 minutes of boxing intervals in the garage this morning just to do some high-intensity cardio intervals. But yeah, man, I'm finding excuses to not go to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. I think it's like hard for everybody.
Man.
It's the same thing with me.
Yeah.
I mean, I did Dakota's podcast one time, Dakota Meyer.
Yeah.
And he just assumed that I just wake up every morning, just cannot wait to get to the gym and work out and train and go to jiu-jitsu and all that stuff. And I was like, I can't believe that's what people think. But every morning I literally wake up and think, I don't want to do this today. And it's especially hard right now because, my workout buddy Tim is out of town.
Yeah.
So, and when he's gone, I got to be honest, it's, so that's really the key for me is to have someone to be accountable to. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really great, advice to give someone is to find someone, a training partner, and either one of them won't want to back down. So you'll say, hey, let's work out tomorrow. And, at some point, one of the guys or even both may want to not show up, but they'll show up for that other person.
Yeah. No, there was Tim is really good with that, with holding people accountable, but he's not an asshole about it either. Because that's, when he and I worked together on the show, and there were days that we worked long, 16-hour shoot days, and I'd be completely exhausted, and we'd be riding back, and I'd be like, oh man, I know he's gonna say it, I know, and he'd wait until I was getting my bag out of the car to go up to my room.
And he'd go, meet me at the gym.
He'd go, gym at 8? And I'd be like, ugh.
He loves doing that.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know this, but during the Sheepdog courses, we'll go and do 6 hours on the mat, a break for lunch, and then 6 hours on the range.
Yeah.
And then on the way back, I will be exhausted, and he'll start trying to plan the workout.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, hey, listen, I think we'll do
a Tabata today.
Yeah, we'll do a Tabata.
Whatever.
We'll do Turkish get-ups, and I'll be thinking, Tim, seriously? Let's just take this day off. But to him, it's like, it's important that that's the moment you train.
Yeah.
Because it's his contention that usually when the shit you train for goes down, it's not going to be on a sunny day when you've got all the sleep and you feel good. So it's kind of like train during the worst times. And
Yeah.
but I don't know how he does it. I mean, I honestly think that he can't get up and just be excited to go train. I honestly think it might be one of his coping mechanisms for, people go, you don't have PTSD, but I think he just trains so hard that he doesn't have any energy left for that.
You know what? His whole neurochemical access of serotonin release might be related to it.
Absolutely.
That's some people are just like that.
Well, and I know that on the days that I don't train, I feel horrible.
Yeah.
And I get more sore if I haven't trained for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Than if I've been training, which is really weird.
Yeah, and I don't know. So the worst thing about me is that I'm all one way or I'm all the other. Is if I'm not working out, I find myself really not giving a shit about what I eat.
Yeah.
It's like that's a great example. So Tuesday night when I went to Chick-fil-A, and Denise is like, so you gonna get a salad? I'm like, no, I'm gonna get a spicy deluxe.
Oh, those are delicious.
Yeah, they are delicious. I'm like, I'm not gonna get a salad. It's like because it's like I was just in that I don't give a shit mode. It's like I'm not. But if I'm working out, I want the good fuel.
Yeah.
I want the good stuff. When I'm working out, so this morning, prime example. So Denise is in a seminar all day today. So she got up early. I got up with her, fed the dogs, and then as soon as she pulled out of the garage and it closed, I pushed my Wavemaster heavy bag to the middle of the room, queued up Boss Rootin' and got to punching. So as soon as I was done with that, I come in, I put boiled eggs on. Right, I'm gonna have a nice healthy breakfast. Yeah. I get cleaned up. I eat my boiled eggs.
You're right, because you never train and then just go eat something crappy.
Right. Yeah, I don't train like that and then go IHOP. Unless it's like I have done that before. I did a 3-hour jiu-jitsu seminar one time, but it was when I was on strict no carb diet, and that was carb day.
Yeah.
So I went and got pancakes afterwards. But
well, honestly, that's why I train really hard, is so that every once in a while I can eat some ice cream and not feel bad about it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because really, when you see somebody who's in shape, all that means is that they do the right thing more often than they don't. Mm-hmm. So if you eat ice cream a couple of nights a week, or if you eat ice cream once, it's not going to make you fat.
Yeah, I don't.
But if you eat ice cream every night for 2 weeks, it'll start to show. So it's just like working out or eating well. If you can just do the right thing more often than you don't.
Yeah.
So it's like, I like to have a little bit of a life. Yeah. I like to.
It's okay to have the pint of Halo Top in your fridge, but it's not okay to get the big box of ice cream sandwiches. So anytime you want ice cream, you can have it. There was this popped into my head when we were talking about this is years ago. Let's see, this had to be 2011 timeframe. Denise and I went to the New York City Food and Wine Festival that's sponsored by Food Network. And there's like a whole, it's like over a 4-day weekend. And there's like 8 different events you can go to. Some of them are going on at the same time. So you pick and choose which one. And then based on which ones you pick, some of them are more expensive than others. Some of them are, a whatever course meal. Some of them are a buffet type meal. Like we went to the Paula Deen brunch, that was buffet style. We went to the Neely's brunch the day before, which was kind of like a buffet, but they brought it out. They would come by your table.
I'm not guessing the Paula Deen buffet was health food?
Not health food, no.
Okay, that was just a shot in the dark.
No, but when out of these events that we went to, most people there, you could tell were like, I knew this was coming. I'm a person who lives a pretty healthy life. You didn't see a lot of, really like slovenly, morbidly obese people. Most people looked like they're in pretty good shape. And it's not, you're in New York City doing this. So it costs you a bit to get there. It's costing you a bit to stay somewhere, right? And it's costing you a bit to go to each one of these events. So these are people who are pretty well healed.
Honestly, though, New York City, people do so much walking there.
Yeah.
That there's usually not very many super obese people.
No. It's not like, cities that you see a lot of obese, like San Antonio. I lived there for a long time. San is consistently like in the top 5. Chicago too.
Well, because their places are so far away. There's, you're not going to walk.
Right.
Nothing is in walking distance in San Antonio.
People don't work in an office here and then, walk to the subway, walk to lunch, walk home, walk to the, whatever train stop, whatever it is.
But also, I mean, listen, I love Mexican food.
Yeah.
But San Antonio has got some really good Mexican food.
Calorically dense.
Yes.
Yeah, it's calorically dense. It is. But there was I remember over the course of this weekend, there was only one person that I saw, and it was at we went to the Guy Fieri it was called Guy's Garage Party. It was an 80s themed garage party. He had a 80s cover band called the Ronald Reagans, and there was like 80s video games and everything, and really, really good food. And I remember, that there was a woman, a very, very morbidly obese woman on the scooter. She's like, so obese that she had the scooter. And I remember thinking, it's like, if this was the type of thing, if I ate this way all the time, that would be me. Because this is one of those things. It's like, we're going to go up there for a weekend and we're not going to give 2 shits.
And just so you know, when you hit the scooter, it's over.
It is over.
I mean, that's like, now you don't even have to walk.
And the scooter is, there was I wish I could find it. I might be able to find it actually. Somebody did like an informal study. This was like some med students did it, and they said a scooter was a 5-year death sentence.
Yeah.
Like if you got the scooter, the odds of you being dead in 5 years from the time for whatever reason you got the scooter, the odds of you being dead in 5 years are really high.
Whatever your lifestyle to lead you up to the scooter, at least you're under your own walking power probably.
Right.
But whenever you take that away also,
right.
I mean, now it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, it accelerates.
Yeah. So what do you think, you mentioned having somebody to keep you accountable as a means of motivation. And that was one thing that helped me a lot going to OPEX, was because the person that kept me accountable was my coach. Is every Monday morning, I would open up my phone and I got an alert that my workouts for the week were programmed in. And if I miss a workout, I get an alert, you missed a workout. And I know, I've seen his coach's board. I know what it looks like. If I fall below 90% on my accountability for my workouts, I turn red on his coach's board. So I'm now failing, right? Because I'm below 90%. So to me, that was one good way to do it. What do you think, what would you say to somebody, we've got a pretty good tribe around us of people that do that. What do you say to somebody who has no tribe?
Well, I mean,
because I'm not going to call them every day.
Well, the hardest thing, honestly, is just for somebody that is not in any kind of shape, is just to pull into the parking lot and walk into the gym, whatever gym it is, just to get it started. Because anything is better than nothing, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, but to have that motivation, I don't know where it comes from. Honestly, I wish, I'm sure this happened to everybody. You're laying on the couch. It's like 1 a.m. You're drinking and you're flipping through channels, and then Rocky is on. And then you're like, oh man, I'm going to wake up at 6 tomorrow and I'm going to start running. Because you feel that like,
I'm going to drink 3 raw eggs and I'm going to run.
Nobody ever drinks raw. Whatever happened to that? Nobody drinks raw eggs anymore.
Well, they found out it was dangerous.
Did anyone die?
I think technically you can get salmonella, but
all right. Well, listen, I did try to drink raw eggs a couple times, and I realized
it tastes like shit.
It's just not good.
You don't really. So you can get the same. You can get the same thing from just drinking like whey protein, I think.
Yeah, but that feeling you get of that motivation of like I'm gonna wake up tomorrow. Then of course you set your alarm, and 6 a.m. rolls around, and it goes off, and then you just reach over and you smash the clock with a hammer.
Yeah,
because that's completely gone away.
Yeah,
but it's like when I would first get into training, I would always have this motivation to do it. But the hard thing is to keep it going. So, I mean, where does it come from? Honestly, as soon as you start to see results, that's another thing.
Yeah.
When you start to see abs, or your traps are popping out,
Yeah.
then it becomes a lot more motivating.
Yeah, I think results, and to me, it has a lot to do with how I feel. So I told you this last time you were on. I talked about it. So Denise and I have a Peloton bike at the house. You know they have a treadmill now.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they have and it's going to be.
Does it have a screen on it where you looks like you drop?
Has all that. It has somebody telling you what to do, or you can run little trails or whatever. We've got a Soul treadmill. So let me tell you. So this is a pretty good public service announcement. So have you ever looked up? Do you own a treadmill?
I have a pre-core kind of thing but
Is that the thing
honestly,
that's not motorized that you run on it?
It's not motorized, but it has resistance.
Those are good.
Yeah.
I ran on one of those in Afghanistan.
Well, I bought it when I first started training. Like it was low impact but now I throw some wrestling shoes on and go for a run.
Yeah. You ran on wrestling shoes?
Yeah.
That sounds exquisitely painful.
It is.
I tried to run a treadmill when I was out in San Diego for the ASEP convention. I ran in my CrossFit shoes, and it was excruciatingly painful. And I hurt for like 2 days afterwards.
Well, see, I have this theory that the more advanced a shoe has gotten, the worse running form gets.
You're absolutely right.
You watch people that have those big, thick heels, and they're slapping their feet, heel striking. Our running gait
Shane,
was not made.
I'm 52. I can't retrain myself to run properly.
Well, I tell you, if you put on some wrestling shoes, your body will start to protect itself.
Yeah,
and you'll start to run more even, and you will start to like reach out and put that foot down a little more gingerly.
Yeah.
But now I can't, like, if we do sprints and sled push, all that stuff, it's great for that.
Yeah.
Deadlifts, squats.
Yeah.
Long distance running is the only thing that's kind of, you gotta really use really good form.
Yeah, that was the reason that I got the and I call them CrossFit shoes. They're just basically low. They're Reebok, very low. They're like 4 millimeter. And because I didn't for years I have worn regular running shoes, big thick heel and everything else. But I felt I didn't like lifting in them. I didn't like box jumping in them. I didn't like doing anything because to me that was an ankle snap just waiting to happen. You're not stable. You're at a funny angle. You need to be as flat as possible. And I see a lot of guys lift barefoot.
Yeah,
yeah, and that's.
But still, I mean, you're sometimes on that slick. Sometimes a lot of those lifting platforms have that wood, and some people get sweaty feet, and but I have the ASIC. Split second. So they have a pad on the front and a pad on the heel, and there's like material in the middle so that the shoe will flex.
That's your wrestling shoe, or that's a different shoe?
That's the wrestling shoe that I wear. And I just bought my second pair because my first pair are just like, they're done.
I think my wrestling shoes are ASIC too. I have two pairs. So I have one pair that are only for the mats, and then I have another pair that I used to travel with. I have a little bag that I used to carry on deployment, and I had in the bag, I had my other set of wrestling shoes, a set of boxing wraps, and a set of 12-ounce gloves. So wherever I went, if there was a bag or a wall, I could do a boxing workout. I would do it. Typically, I would do it in the wrestling shoes because I don't like I do the Boss Rutan routines, and there's sprawls involved, and I don't like doing sprawls and footwork in running shoes. Yeah, because that's a recipe to like trip and stuff. Well,
they're so high and they're lifting, and they make you really toe heavy. Yeah, but also the benefit to wearing wrestling shoes is if, like, for any reason, if there's ever a physical altercation, like you're wearing wrestling shoes.
You're wearing wrestling shoes. You're ready. Yeah.
Beware of the guy that walks around wearing wrestling shoes.
Do you wear socks with your wrestling shoes or no?
I do. Really thin ones.
Yeah, so do I. Very, very thin ones.
Although my feet don't sweat very much.
Mine do.
I don't think that's good to sweat inside your shoes. That's gross.
No, it's a recipe for badness. But what I was going to say about the Peloton, which I was totally against because I've always hated stationary bikes. I never thought I got anything out of them. Denise wanted it, so I said, all right, yeah, we'll get it. And I'm actually really happy with it. And the great thing about it is when you're doing it, you can see, you have instant feedback on where this is where your personal best is, because it goes based on your output, and it says, okay, your output.
So you wear a heart rate monitor?
Yeah, but even if you don't wear it, because my last workout, which was yesterday, because I did intervals today, I did 45 minutes on the bike yesterday. And I put the heart monitor on, and as I got going on the ride, I realized the battery had died. So I just took it off. But it doesn't go primarily, your heart rate is a data point, but it's not the most important data point. Really, the most important is, as you're looking at it, you have resistance, which is done by a little knob. You have your speed, which they're telling you during the thing. You got a screen in front of you with an instructor telling you what your resistance should be, what your speed should be, and then in the middle you have your output. Okay, so it's basically like your wattage,
and it's the same every time, so you can
yes.
get a good gauge. So honestly, that's great for you, because this gadget, I don't know if it inspires you, but it gives you some, I mean, it sounds like you enjoy using that.
Yeah, well,
but I would be careful, because I can't tell you the amount of people that think that they're going to buy this thing and the Boz Rutan hit pads or whatever.
Yeah,
they're gonna start learning how to kick some ass,
and they're gonna have an expensive thing in the garage that they don't use.
Well, you walk in their house and it's a really weird clothes hanger.
Rack. Yep, yeah, it always becomes a Solo Flexes were famous for that, because they basically, that was a hanger bar.
Yeah,
so you can hang clothes on it.
It's funny because I was watching an infomercial, and they were showing, anytime they show a device that, oh, you can use it, and then look, it folds up and slides right under your bed. I'm like,
yep, that's where it's going to stay.
That's the selling point, because people don't want this monstrosity in the room.
Yeah,
but that's where it's going to end up.
Yeah,
people are going to look under their bed 4 years later and go, what the hell is this thing?
Yeah, you ever seen the Total Gym?
The Total Gym.
Yeah, so no disrespect to Chuck Norris, of course.
Oh yes, is that the one, the sliding ramp?
Yeah. So it's I actually got to try one of those, and I like to call it the Mark Ruffalo of home workout equipment. It's highly overrated and just an all around pain in the ass.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's complete piece of shit. Now, again, no disrespect to Chuck Norris, but it's a complete piece of shit.
I think I've said on that one time, and I did some flies or something as I slid up and down. Yeah. Not only did I feel like weird doing it, but there was zero resistance.
No, so, you got to put it, and it also looks like in between exercises to adjust it would be a colossal pain in the ass. I never messed with it long enough to
honestly,
figure it out.
I think people get taken advantage of, because I watch a lot of stuff that comes out that I immediately just think, that's not going to work,
I was, this was back in 2001, 2002 timeframe. Guy on my team had a Bowflex, and we could actually disassemble that and put it on the pallet when we deployed, and took it with us. And that thing was actually pretty decent. You could do all of the normal range of motion stuff that you can imagine. Bench press, military press, squats, shrugs, everything like that.
But honestly, we've talked about this before. You really need nothing.
No.
And it's like, you have to kind of know and, to get an idea, but there's a million videos out there on YouTube stuff, showing how to just do bodyweight stuff.
Yeah.
So you don't really need stuff to, and I see a lot of people that think, well, I don't have enough money for a membership, or, I'm waiting till I get this machine in. Mm-hmm. You could literally just drop down and start doing push-ups right now.
Yeah, you can do, and that's when we're on the road with Sheepdog. Mm-hmm. We don't, unless Jeff Rowe's there and it's in Texas and he brings his weights, right?
or Tim has this this kettlebell that you fill up with sand.
Yeah, I had one of those. I had one of those on the last season of Hunting Hitler, and it ended up going in the gear van that we had to go from point A to point B, and I think we were going from Uruguay to Paraguay, or Paraguay to Chile, or something like that. And then it ended up not making it to my destination for whatever reason, so I lost that. But yeah, those are pretty handy too.
Before I forget, I was thinking we're talking about excuses. Coming up with excuses all the time, mm-hmm. and one that I hear all the time is, "Man, I'd love to train like you guys do, but man, I don't have any time. I've got my job, I got my kids, mm-hmm. And then at some point they'll tell you like, have you seen Ozark? Like my wife and I watched 5 episodes last night and it's just great. And I'll think, wait, so you have time to watch,
Yeah.
So if you look, you always have time. And it's not to even go to the gym. People are thinking, I don't have time to drive an hour or 30 minutes to the gym. You can go out in your garage and come up with a cool little workout.
You can jump rope. You can do burpees, and that's the thing now is there's a ton of videos out there that you can get that will help you do it at home with minimal, videos or apps with minimal equipment. You can get, so the company that does P90X Beachbody, they've got a thing that you can sign up for their app and you can do it on a tablet, computer, or on your phone, that you have access to P90X or any one of the other. I mean, they literally have hundreds.
This is something we've talked about doing as part of Sheepdog before, because that's one of the big things that people realize after a class. They'll think they were in shape, but it's like when I first started grappling, I was like 240 pounds. I thought that I could, because I could squat 550 pounds and bench press, 400 pounds, that I could just take somebody and just throw them off me. But then I realized that muscle that I had spent all this years trying to put on was completely useless. And I had to relearn how to train. And so a lot of people just don't know the right way. And especially for fighting, to keep your cardio going through 5 minutes of combat, or grappling or, and so at the end of the class, people will come up and ask like, well, what is y'all's training like? Because they'll realize that with all things being equal, the person that's in better shape is going to win.
Yeah.
And you can have somebody that is really good at technique get dominated by somebody who's just athletically really good. And so I know that jiu-jitsu was created so that the smaller man could beat the bigger man. That's if the bigger man doesn't know anything.
Right.
So,
and that's a conversation, and Tim and I had an episode where we talked about that, it was called Does Size Matter? Is
there's a reason why there's weight classes.
Yeah, is there strength? Is it strength and fitness more important, or is technique more important? And there's an interesting, it depends. It's are you Hoist Gracie? If you're Hoist Gracie, you can probably weigh 168 pounds
and give up a lot of athleticism to somebody.
Right. Yeah. But also that was, are you Hoist Gracie in 1993 when people didn't know anything?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And now people know stuff. So you have to take for granted or assume that whoever you might end up in a fight with is going to know as much as you, and they're working out when you're not. So you need every edge that you can get. And it has to, and like you said, though, it has to be functional. It can't be, I'm in the gym. All I do is I go in the gym and I power lift.
Yeah.
And I have no cardio, or I don't know, and then I get on the mat and it's like, well, if I got you when we're standing, right? Because I can yoke you across my shoulders and launch you. But then after that, I got nothing.
Yeah.
Because
and
that's
you
all
got
I've been
about
doing.
maybe 30 seconds before you're completely gassed out.
Completely gassed. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. At the end of the courses, people's minds are just completely like blown. Like, I thought I was in shape. How do I get in this kind of shape that we need for this kind of activity?
Yeah.
And, there's a few places we direct them, like On It has a good site. And, but, I think this is something we probably needed at some point start doing videos on just how to do body weight stuff in a garage.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great idea. That's something we should probably, and that's actually something, and I talked to you about it, about the idea that I had for an app that people could have on their phone with basically all the stuff, basically it would have the whole lifestyle right there on your phone.
Because also it's, we've talked about it before, diet is just as important. I see people out there, and you can tell somebody who's, 40 pounds overweight, and I'll never, tell them, go up and stop them and tell them they're hurting themselves. But you see them out there jogging, and you can tell this is the first time they've ran, and they think that if they run for 2 miles, that stomach is just going to start coming off.
Right.
So, you want to go up and tell them, listen, diet is going to help you more than anything, but you still kind of like are, happy that they're out there making an effort.
Yeah. No, and people do need to put in the effort, and you have to be motivated in all aspects of it. And again, that's the biggest challenge for me is
to do it.
Well, and that I tend to be all or nothing. Is when I'm doing it, I'm doing it. I'm eating right. I'm taking my supplements. I'm drinking as much water as I'm supposed to drink. And when I'm not doing it, it's like I have two speeds. I have complete dedication and complete no fucks to give.
Well, see, I think it needs to be where, the problem also is like when you peak and that like you're firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
Then the next day, you might drop off and then you don't feel like you feel like you're, what I'm saying? It's like when you hit and you feel like you're doing really great, it's hard to keep that up.
Yeah.
So, the hardest part for me is maintaining.
Yeah.
And so the way you do it is you got to think of it as like a job. You clock in or you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you do these. It's got to be something that is part of your life.
Yeah.
It can't be like, I'm going to go get in shape for the summer, and then during the winter, I don't mind getting a little fluffy. It's got to be like, my dad is, 65 years old and at any moment looks like he could go get on stage at one of those physique competitions because like you'll never see him sneak a bite of ice cream
Right.
And he's, and some people might think it's militant, his way of thinking, but he enjoys it. And you have to make it where it's something that you really want to do.
Yeah. And that's a couple of takeaways for me for that is number one is making it part of your schedule, making it like a job. And Denise was the one who introduced it because I had something that I could take for granted for 32 years of my life is, not the whole time I was in the military, but at least the first half of my military career. I had it on the schedule. You will show up at 6:30 tomorrow morning and people are going to make you do shit for an hour and a half. You're going to do physical fitness for an hour and a half and somebody's going to be right there doing it with you. So that wasn't even a choice. And that was what became harder as I got older. And when I was in the unit and as a physician, I was responsible for that on my own. But I also always knew, hey, and I've got a training event at the unit coming up in 3 months. And that training event is going to start with our functional fitness test on the first day. And if I show up unable to complete that to standard, that's a problem. So I've got that looming ahead that I always had to stay in shape for something like that. But the way Denise worded it to me is she said, you have to have non-negotiables. You have to have, I will go to the gym this many times this week. I will go to jiu-jitsu this many times this week. I will drive fire in my house X number of minutes, X number of nights a week. And I will go to the range this many times this month. And once you make them non-negotiables, then it kind of changes the way that you look at it. And also it has to be, you hit the second point too, which is to an extent, it has to be enjoyable. That doesn't mean it's all like, oh, this is so much fun. It's like,
Well, the enjoyment for me is the results. Everybody's like, when we're done training, I am so happy that it's over. And that's the fun part for me is like, man, I can't believe I made it through this again.
Right.
And then when you start to see that you look good, then that is, that's where the fun part is.
Yeah.
It's not fun to go and dry fire. It's not fun to train. And honestly, if it's funny because there's a couple days a week that we call doing meathead stuff, or maybe every once in a while we'll do it. We'll go to, Lifetime and we'll do some bench press. And then people will go, hey, you haven't worked out here in a while. And then we kind of like laugh like, this is what we do when we're not working out. This is this is not even a workout day.
Right. The days that honor the workout days,
because
the days of Lifetime or not.
We're having a conversation with each other while we're working out. That's not training. Training is when you're trying to like think of every breath that you're taking as like, I need to get some of my cardio back before I die.
Right.
you know, and if you use any of that energy talking to somebody, you know, you're not using your time wisely.
Right. That's how I was this morning, because this morning was 2-minute rounds with 1-minute intervals in between, and it's like he gives you like a 15-second warning when you're getting towards the end of a round, and you're like, oh yeah, it's like I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you're still doing sprawls and you're thinking to yourself, I think he lied about that 15 seconds. This feels longer than 15
But see what I'm
seconds.
saying? Like you're having conversations with yourself.
Yeah.
About like, man, this feels really long. Like if you're doing, you know, 5 sets of 8 on bench press, you're not going to be having conversations with yourself other than, should I go up 2.5 pounds or, you know, whatever.
Right.
But you're not going to be thinking, hey, should I say that I just blew out my knee and limp away and take a break? I mean, that's when I know that we're working hard, is when I start thinking about a good, believable,
a cataclysmic event,
a good, believable lie that I could like limp away and be able to come back later and be like, oh, it was just a sprain.
Yeah. It's got to be something. I mean, to an extent, and you do get to the point that you kind of enjoy that.
Yes.
That challenge.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to find something about it, because like I could probably hit the bag 6 days a week, and I would have really good 30-minute cardio. But I know when I did that too much, I started to lose a lot. Functional fitness wise, there were certain things that I started to lose, especially with certain movements. That was when I started having some problems with my shoulders, because I'm not doing anything like this. I'm not doing any range of motion stuff like that. I also started to have some problems with my hips, and again, because you're really limited in the movements that you're doing. I think one thing that helps me a lot is jiu-jitsu is something that I do enjoy. And using that, and you mentioned that, you know, the students that come to our courses and then they have the question like, how do we be in that? Like, I thought I was in this kind of shape, and now I know I'm not in that kind of shape. So how do I know if I'm in that kind of shape? And the way you know if you're in that kind of shape is you do those things.
Yeah.
You go and grapple, and then you know. And I get that. You know, to me, you know, you mentioned it's like, hey, when you start looking better and stuff like that. When I go to class and I roll with a 28-year-old, and we're done with 5-minute rounds, and he's going, and I'm not breathing as hard as him. I'm like, and I know that wasn't all technique.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so I know my cardio is getting better.
There's nothing better than when whoever you're grappling with starts to breathe heavy.
Yeah.
And then you can it almost turns into like a hyperventilating, and then stuff that they were stopping before, they just start to fold.
Yeah.
And then that's when you know, like, oh man, I'm so glad I'm in because to me, it's all about shape. Like, oh man, I'm so glad I'm in this kind of shape where one of the things Tim does is he likes to like start to breathe even slower and audibly so that you know just how hard he's not breathing.
Yeah, he does that on purpose.
So
I also know when I'm getting stronger. I can tell when I'm getting stronger by my ability to manipulate somebody when I'm when I have them in side control. Because it's not just about, you can't just, I think there's a misconception among a lot of people, especially early on, that, oh, if you're a heavy guy, you can just lay on somebody in side control and just like get a break. And you can't. It's like you're actively, what you're doing is not laying on somebody with your body weight. That's actually taking strength because of the way that you have to do it. And I also know when my ability to keep my posture in somebody's guard and to stand up in their guard, I know that's a good indication of where my strength is, because I know when I haven't been doing a lot of core work, when I haven't been doing a lot of stuff with my legs, I haven't been doing a lot of squats and deadlift, and I'm trying to get out of somebody's guard.
they keep breaking you down.
Yeah, it's like, it's like, all right, I'm just gonna wait for them to go for a sweep, and then I'm gonna pass their guard because I don't have the strength to do it. But
Well, it's like that adage about, you know, you punch a black belt and they become a brown belt. And it's the same thing also with just being in better shape. As time goes on, they start to get, you know, even a higher belt will start. Like I've gone with some really higher belts that had taken some time off and they come back and they're not in good shape. And it's like, you can tell really quickly that, how important being strong and how long you're strong for.
Yeah.
So like being able to lift a ton of weight once, that's great. But what scenario is that going to be useful? Like if somebody's in a car accident and you have to turn it over once.
Supposedly.
But, everything in life is about repetition and how long you can keep that up. So that's why that knowing how to train is as important as training.
Yeah, and I think doing, going to the gym and doing your fitness, and this is and we've Tim and I have talked about this. You and I have talked about this. Chris Perkins and I talked about it when he was on the show. Is something that I figured out kind of late in life is you can't just do jujitsu because you're going to do certain movements certain ways all the time, and certain muscles are going to atrophy, and you're training great for 5-minute rounds, except those times that the coach says, hey, we're doing 7-minute rounds today. And then that seems like an eternity.
Well, I've known guys that only did jujitsu. They only trained that. And we're talking about high level guys. And so, I would tell them like, man, why wouldn't you want to also be strong and have good cardio? And those guys that took my advice and started training, started saw this massive jump where they'd been plateaued for years.
I think even more importantly than, not only do you see that, but also the big thing that I noticed with me is my recovery and my durability goes through the roof. It's like all those little jiu-jitsu injuries that I find myself getting, because it typically when I'm not working out, when I wasn't going to OPEX and I was only going to jiu-jitsu, I would get in the car, number one, exhausted. Number two, already thinking about where I was going to have to put Bengay on my body when I got home. Tonight's a shoulder night. Tonight's a neck night. Tonight's a lower back night, or whatever it might be. And then, especially waking up Friday morning after Thursday night class, which is the biggest ass kicker of the week.
Just make sure you wash your hands first before you go to the bathroom.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to learn that one the hard way. Friday mornings were like death. It's like, I feel like a 52-year-old guy who tried to do jiu-jitsu last night. And once I started working out religiously and lifting weights and doing cardio and doing the assault bike and doing box jumps and doing pull-ups and doing dips and deadlift and ring dips and everything else, I was like, wow, all of a sudden, all those little muscles that I've been neglecting are getting trained. So it's stabilizing my joints. My durability is better. I'm better when I'm on the mat, and I'm better the next day.
Well, see, that's where your motivation comes from, is the knowledge that by going to and training, you have this massive amount of stuff that is fixed.
Yeah.
And also you have the fear of having all that stuff happen if you don't train.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I think, where guys like you and I have that motivation, is we know we've seen it time and time again where we've taken off time, felt horrible, had more injuries, and it takes, especially as you get older, and, that's another thing people say, like, I'm too old to do this. Well, this is the youngest you're ever going to be.
Yeah.
Right now. Right now is the youngest you're ever going to be. So
there it went.
Yeah. So you might as well start now.
Yeah.
That's why I always say there's no, you can be 60 years old and start doing jujitsu. It's.
Yeah. I was in my mid-40s when I started.
Yeah. So, but we have that from, but, I think, how do we explain to people that haven't done that where to get the motivation from? And it's, all I can really say is that, learn from our mistakes and get in there before, you have to learn it the hard way.
It's hard to, unless somebody's been in a life-threatening situation, or they had a health scare. And there's that commercial that's on TV now. I don't even know. It's for pomegranate juice or something like that, where the guy had a health scare, so now he runs every day. Have you seen those? It's got he says, I'm his fear monster or whatever. and that's following him around.
Yeah.
And he goes, but since he had his health scare, now he runs every day.
Yeah.
And he eats right.
Well, most people have to have, like we were talking about the director and comedian that had the massive heart attack last time.
Yeah.
He needed a heart attack to lose 100 pounds.
Yeah. Kevin Smith. Yeah. Yeah.
But why wouldn't you start doing that before? That's what most people need, is that scare to happen.
And it's just like, with what we teach at Sheepdog or grappling or whatever, is they need, I got mugged.
Demolished.
Yeah.
And when
my house
feel
got
that,
broken into.
When you feel somebody just completely kick your ass, there's something that happens that you think, I never want to feel like this again. Mm-hmm. Especially when you know that it was just because you ran out of energy. Mm-hmm. That's my fear monster or whatever.
But the best illustration that I've seen of but you have to train too. And think of it, this is what I tell people. Think of it of, you're doing CrossFit or whatever your workout routine is, but then you're going to jujitsu, and that's your assessment phase. That's when you figure out, was what I'm doing in the gym working? Mm-hmm. Because is it getting easier for me? Is it easier to execute the moves? Because there was a guy at one, and I'm not going to dime anybody out. It was at one of our law enforcement classes, and this guy was in great shape, in his mid-30s, physically probably in his prime, worked out probably 5-6 days a week, CrossFitter, phenomenal shape. And I choked him out with his own bicep. Because basically what happened is he bum rushed me. I was on my back. I went to guard right away. He gave me his arm. I pushed his arm, gift wrapped him. And then I just basically rolled him over onto his side, and I choked him out with his own bicep till he tapped. And this is a guy who's in, again, phenomenal shape. There is nothing in a CrossFit boxer in a gym that he could not have annihilated me at.
Like, have you seen the CrossFit fight training?
Yes. Well, first of all, we know who's doing the CrossFit fight training, right?
No.
So it's the guy that does the spear system.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's
totally legit.
Yeah. It's
well. Here's
I
the
actually
thing.
have. So I'm this is.
I don't want to get bad at, like, I think it's great that people train.
Yeah, they're training.
They're training
doing something.
They're doing something, so that's good.
Yeah.
But they also needed to.
But the whole, if you throw a medicine ball, it's teaching you how to punch somebody in the face.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
But you also need to take some courses on how to actually fight, because if you think that's gonna like, it's gonna give you a non-realistic expectation. Mm-hmm. If you think that this is gonna prepare you to deal with any assault.
Right.
So do that stuff. That's fine.
Yeah.
But also go, train. Also go take a Sheepdog course. That's what I'm saying.
Did we talk about it? I don't think we talked about it. Did we talk about it last time you were here? No, we talked about it at the range. Did you get a chance to watch Fight World on Netflix?
I have not.
Dude, you got to watch that. So it's the Israel episode is amazing, and it's all about. And I've seen, so not far from me, we both know and it's true of jiu-jitsu gyms too. I mean, there are trash jiu-jitsu gyms. It's sad to say now because it's, we love it so much, but there are jiu-jitsu gyms that are like, oh, we're all about sport jiu-jitsu or whatever it might be.
It's definitely something to research before you go.
Yeah. It's, and that's people write me all the time or hit me up on social media when I was still on it and say, hey, this is where I live. Where should I go? And I'll look and I'll be like, okay, I Google Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and the name of their town. 4 places come up. 2 of them, you look at them, they're not even really a Jiu-Jitsu gym. They're a family martial arts gym. And the guy teaching they've got a blue belt teaching.
I have noticed that if you look up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, karate places will also pop up.
Yes. Well, they've pushed themselves into. They've asked to be kind of added into that algorithm because they know how much it's getting Googled. But I'll look at who, these are the legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu places where they are. Oh yeah, I know what that guy's lineage is, and I'll say, hey, here you got a couple of choices. This is what you should do. But near me, and I'm not going to say the name of the place, but there's a Krav Maga place. And I've always been interested in what Krav Maga was always about. And of course, here in Austin, there's, Lions Krav Maga with the Friars who we're associated with, and, great people. This place near me is not at all associated with them or with anything that they're associated with. And somebody else told me before I ever had a chance to even go approach this place. They're like, no, man, you don't want to go there. It's a typical strip mall McDojo. They're basically, you're gonna go in there and do it basically like a dance class. But it was really impressive for me to see this Israel episode of Fight, and this is we're talking about Fight World on Netflix with Frank Grillo. So he goes to Israel, and he goes to legit Krav Maga gyms where
it's not watered down.
No, literally everybody in our class has used this for real, and check it out. They're all still alive, so we know it works. And he's got an instructor that is like showing him some shit, and he's got a full fucking gun belt on while he's doing it. He looks like he could be teaching one of our Sheepdog courses. And he's telling him, he's like, oh, I want you to kick me. And he kicks me. He goes, no, I want you to kick me like you're trying to really kick me. And Grillo's done Muay Thai, so I mean he knows.
Yeah.
And he does it again. And he's like, no, what? Kick? Come on, kick me. So he's like, all right. So he's really kicking him. And he's showing him legit moves. He's showing him stuff with knives. He's showing him stuff with pistols, everything else. I really want to, next time, because now that I work for Persis, I get more or less once a year, I get to head over to Israel. So I want to check out one of these legit birthplace of Krav Maga gyms.
Well, I will definitely check it out this time.
Yeah, you gotta look at it, man. It's worth 45 minutes of your time. If that's the best episode. It's the last one, the one on Israel. That's the one I watched first. It's awesome. I've watched two of the other ones, and they're both those are pretty good too. But to me, that was the best one. So, but talk about motivation. That's these guys' motivation is we're surrounded on all sides by countries
wants to kill us.
that want to drive us into the Mediterranean. Right? There is no greater motivation.
Well,
than
everybody that lives around us wants us wiped off of the face of the planet.
And you talk about. Going someplace where everybody's in shape. In Israel, everybody's in shape. And I got up, I'd get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning to go run on the beach, and tons of people out running every morning. And then there's an outdoor public pool, tons of people lap swimming.
So not a lot of obesity there?
I did not see a lot of obesity in Israel. And they have these little, I called them prison gyms, set up along the beach, and they're open to the public. Yeah, and it's all body weight. It's dip bars, pull up bars, different apparatus that are all and there's some stationary bikes, some kind of pretty cheap stationary bike stuff. There were some punching bags, stuff like that. Bars, parallel bars, everything else. Pretty good setup. And again, didn't see, and the food over there is amazing. So you're going out to eat, and you're like, how is everybody in this country not fat? But it's because they all work out. So because
again, their lives may depend on it one day.
Yeah, and I know everybody's listening. They're saying, oh well, they're all in the military. No, and I talked about this on a previous episode. It's only 41%.
See, I thought everybody had to.
No, so they said that. If you take out, so first of all, there's what a lot of people don't know is there's a big Arab and Muslim population in Israel. So you have, aside from that, we're not talking about the Palestinian issue, but you have the Bedouins and the Druze. So they're not required to serve in the military. They're not required to serve. So they're not eligible to get drafted. Then you have Orthodox Jews are exempt from military service, so they don't have to serve. Then you have a certain number of people get medical deferments.
So it's at 100% of 40%.
Yeah, basically 41. Yeah.
If you're in this one category,
it's 100% of 41%. Yeah, serves in the military. But I just think that they have a different outlook on it. They know that at any moment they could be fighting for survival.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's hard times make for hard men.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hard men make for soft times, make for soft men. You know, and we've had and we're going. You know, we're in an economic boom again in the United States. It's aside from the fact that everybody hates each other and they're yelling back and forth. The economy looks good. Employment is up. Everybody's living better. Everybody has more money in their wallet, so they're relaxed a little bit more. Hey,
yeah, but you know what? If you listen to the news, you would never hear that.
We're the end of days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's I noticed I'm a lot happier since I got off social media.
I was going to ask you if you're still there because honestly, I screwed up and did the opposite. Like now I'll check Twitter and man, I need to get off of that because it's really affecting my health, I think.
Yeah, you know what? It didn't. I was feeling this small amount of satisfaction every time I made somebody delete their Twitter account. I felt this little bit of satisfaction, like that was like a body count. Like I had all these hash marks on my airplane of all these people that I'd taken out. But I mean, in the end, what difference does it make? That person's still an idiot. And then that person's still doing
what I've realized is that you're not going to, you know, in a few characters, make somebody go, "Oh, I am completely wrong. I never saw it that way."
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Yeah. Nobody ever changed their mind off of social media.
Yeah. It's really everybody trying to, you know, get everybody to.
You get over here and you yell into your own echo chamber for a while.
Yeah.
And then
you bounce over.
And then somebody in your echo chamber
retweets.
Yeah.
And you're like, this person is crazy.
So they grab, it's like, think of your echo chamber as like this big pit. Like, and you're all, it's like an Escape from New York, right? You're all around it with bats and stuff. You're chanting. And then somebody goes outside of your echo chamber and they grab somebody that disagrees with you and they throw them into the pit.
Yeah.
And you all read their tweet. And you all gang up on them with your bats.
That is a great representation of what happens.
But whereas in the metaphor, right, you would beat that person to death.
Yeah.
Or they would be forced to assimilate. In reality, that person
just blocks you.
They just log in. They just block, and they don't have to listen to you, or they just don't give a shit.
Yeah, and it's like they just disappear.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's I might get. You know what? I might get back on social media after the election.
Well, because after that, then everybody kind of simmers down for a little while.
Yeah.
It's always. Every single time around October, November, it just heats up.
Yeah.
Everybody gets
Yeah,
out of
I'm really
control.
glad I'm not on there right now. So, yeah, maybe after the election I'll get back on. Yeah. We'll see. So,
I should probably take your advice and do that. So,
well, now, I mean, we're 5 days from the election now. You might as well tough it out.
Yeah, why not?
you might as well sit back and enjoy the show now.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another thing. I'll tell you what, man.
The amount of stuff that people will say to me that I'll think, that's really weird. Nobody's ever said that to my face.
Right.
And
but you feel very comfortable.
Yeah.
So yeah, saying it there. So I had a guy, this was the weirdest thing. This was actually over a year ago. Some guy actually challenged me to a fight on Twitter. And I'm like, he can't really be challenging me to a fight. Mm-hmm. He's basically, when I come to Texas, are we going to throw down? And I'm like, yeah, okay. First of all, you're probably not going to come to Texas. I'm like, this guy can't be serious. Yeah. And he kept on it. And I go, all right, dude, here's the deal. You come to Texas, you come to the gym where I train, and, you know, we'll do something, right? You know, we'll grapple, we'll get in the ring, we'll get in the cage, whatever, dude, fine. And he goes, all right, everybody, you heard it. When I get to Texas, me and Doc are going to throw down, blah, 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 blah. And then he sends me this long email. And actually didn't send it to me. He sent it to info@Sheepdog, but it made its way to me, like talking about why it was important that he called me out and that he get an acknowledgement from me and blah, 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 all this other. And then he deleted his Twitter account. And I'm like, so what did that serve? You know, and again, it's the same thing. It's like if we would have been sitting in a room having that conversation, and it was a conversation that, in my opinion, wasn't even heated, he wouldn't have said, okay, we need to fight over this disagreement.
Well, but at least that guy had a name and probably had a picture. What bothers me is when somebody says something to you and it's like a picture of a cat, and their name was like Kitty
Right.
Cat 15 or something. And you're like, you know,
Yeah.
you can be totally anonymous, say whatever you want to someone, and then just be completely anonymous. And that's, you know,
Yeah. It's you got those and then the other thing, and this was something that was another reason that I got off is because it was taking up so much of my time is all of these fake SF guys and fake Rangers that were on Twitter that use their fake service because now the only thing worse than hiding behind the veterans card to bolster your political opinion is hiding behind the veterans card when it's fake.
yeah.
And there was a lot of guys doing that.
Well, I know it sounds like we've gotten off topic, but you know, that's one of the other reasons why you train is so that people won't say stuff to your face.
Right. We have gotten off topic, but hey, that's the advantage of having your own show. Is Shane and I can just because we don't get to catch up that much.
We don't,
so we
and
just
it's
talk
funny.
about whatever we want.
And when we normally talk and we're not being recorded, we go off on so many tangents
Yeah.
that we've actually done a pretty good job of kind of keeping it.
Really the microphones are the only thing that keep us on topic.
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10, you and I have a conversation, and then I'm driving home, and I think of 2 or 3 things that like, because we jump topics so many times. I was
going to say
this, and then I want to text you all the things I was going to say.
Well, great. So I'm not the only one that happens to.
Nope, every single time. Like when we left the range the other day, and I'm driving, so I can't text you, and I'm like, oh, I meant to say this.
Oh, really? I'm really good at texting and driving.
Oh, don't tell me that. Don't tell me, dude. That
No, I do
So
the,
did you
I
just hear that girl? And I don't know for 100% that she did this, but I'm guessing that's what's going to come out. So some lady just killed some kids at a school bus.
Oh,
She's going 45 miles an hour, and I'm guessing that's my prediction is there's going to be texting involved because they said she didn't even slow down.
Yeah. That's usually, I mean, that's going to be the only reasonable.
I mean, what other reason? She
passed out.
said she zoned out and didn't see the bus, and the kids were coming across the street. I can't imagine any scenario where you just zone out and don't see the bus.
Well, I will tell you, there's a cool feature that iPhone has where you hit the little microphone and then just dictate.
Yeah.
The only thing is that when you get home and then you read what it actually wrote.
Yeah, it's nowhere near what you actually said.
Yeah, so I'm really good at deciphering those because Tim does that a lot. I'll say, oh, I know what he was saying.
Yeah.
But this is really
Yeah,
hilarious.
Tim was the one that introduced me to that because he does it all the time. I think.
By the way, I bring up Tim now a lot because I heard that there was a drinking game where every time I mention Tim's name, people drink. So
Really?
yeah, I'm just trying to make sure everyone's loaded by the end of this.
It's every time Tim's not on the show, every time we say, well, if Tim does this, somebody takes a drink. I'll have to remember to do that more often. But what was I going to say? Oh, remember that weird, did you see in the Sheepdog string that email that I posted that I took a screen capture of it and I said, can somebody decipher this for me? I don't speak moron.
Oh yeah.
I think that maybe that
what they
person
were-
used dictation software because that just made no sense.
Yeah.
All I got out of that was they believe they're a conspiracy theorist. That was the only thing I got out of that though.
Well, when I first saw that, I thought to myself, oh, well, this sounds like one of Tim's text messages. And so I was really trying to figure out what they were trying to say, but even that I couldn't figure out what
I think it might have been dictation software and then run through a translator. Like that was in another language.
It was another language.
It was another language that run through a translator.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah. Which, by the way, so we have 2 listeners in Lithuania. We've got a listener in Latvia. We've got listeners so I can go on Libsyn and I can see where all of our listeners are. So I'm always hoping that, hey, if you're our listener in Lithuania, if you're listening in Lithuania right now, please send me an email at mike@sheepdogresponse.com and tell me how you found the show because I'm really interested to know that. And we've got a ton in the Middle East, some of which I'm a little bit suspect of. Some of which are in countries I don't think they should be listening to this show. So I think it's because they're trying to get Tim's movement patterns down.
Well, I can tell you right now, he probably hopes they do.
Yeah, we got a couple of listeners in Chad.
He's always sending out GPS pins like, "Hey, I'm going to be here tomorrow." So,
yeah, and he means that shit.
Yeah.
So he wants to get a homeland kill. He hasn't had that yet. So he's always open. So we're about out of time, man. Is there anything else you want to add about motivation before we sign off? Oh, one more thing that I wanted to say about the Peloton, just because otherwise I'll have to text it to you when I get home, is it tells you on your best ride you were at this output. so it gives you something to push for. And I've made my goal every time I get off the bike, it's my best ride ever. Just even if it's just by a couple of output points.
So it's like the video game that has the ghost car.
Yes, it's like the ghost car. So it graphs you, and that's the great thing is you can look at everything in graph form and see how you're doing. And to me, again, going into motivation, because we're gonna close talking about motivation, is 1% better every day. So what I would say to people is do something that holds you accountable, that's measurable. Have a tribe, have a peer group, have a coach.
That was gonna be my only thing, was to get a tribe.
Yeah.
Find one, go to a CrossFit gym where people we're gonna hold you accountable and say like, hey, where have you been?
Yeah.
And or set up times we're all gonna meet here, we're all gonna go run in the park. That's easy. If to actually make a social thing out of it.
And there's a ton of Facebook groups out there too, of groups that like do stuff like that and everything else. And we say this at Sheepdog classes all the time. If you don't have, if your friends aren't the type of people to do that, get different friends. Your friends are holding you back.
Yeah, you're only gonna, I always just say, my dad would say, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
That damn Skippy, man. There's nothing like that. If your friends are all 75 pounds overweight and they don't do any physical activity and aren't trying to better themselves,
you are not going to go to the gym.
That's you. Yeah, that's you. Yeah, you don't ever see a group of people that it's like, hey, there's the one fit friend.
Yeah.
Or you don't see the one guy, the guy who he's on the board of a Fortune 500 company, but he's hanging out with a bunch of guys who are bussing tables at Dave & Buster's. You don't typically see that. People hang out in a peer group that's going to lift them up, that's kind of their own level. So, not everything is not like Entourage. Okay,
yeah,
that's the takeaway from this, right? Everything is not like, well, it kind of is. Sheepdog's kind of like Entourage. We're like a more deadly version of Entourage.
Except instead of that cool Cadillac, we all have like
gas guzzlers.
Yeah, big trucks with mounted machine guns.
Yeah. All right, everybody, we are out of time. Make sure you go to sheepdogresponse.com. Check out those core states that I was talking about. Go to the Sheepdog store. Christmas is just around the corner. We have the loaded tactical stockings again this year. And nothing makes... So Jesse, the guy that fulfills all your orders, nothing makes him happier than having to completely deplete his stock and having to repack more tactical stockings. He is only happy when he is in the zone where he has to get more of that stuff out to you. So make his Christmas wishes come true. Sell us out on tactical stockings this year so he has to make more of them. I'm going to leave you with our quote today from Stephen Covey, who said, "I am not a product of my circumstances. I am a product of my decisions." And so are you. You are a product of your decisions each and every day. Get motivated, make some good decisions, and until next time, be a sheepdog.
You have been listening to the Sheepdog Project. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Sheepdog Response. The views expressed on this podcast are those of the individual and do not represent any larger entity, public or private.